I think the ego is our first technology, and that when Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am," the particular way that he already felt because of a tradition that was present in his culture, going back thousands of years. So when Descartes' cogito made the doubting ego the center of the universe, it became the first technology. And in this sense, technology is technique, or any means of manipulating the world. And the ego is the method for manipulating the world. It's the first method that allows us to use all the other technologies that we have developed since. So the ego is the prime technology. It's the engineer that manipulates the technology. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the future of technology? Are we going to maintain this mechanized kind of technology where the ego is the human being and the world is the machine, and the human being has to somehow learn to best control the machine? That's how we view nature now. We view nature, the ego can only see nature as a machine, a blind eating machine, really, that's always after it. The ego is always frightened of the world because everything in nature is other. The ego is not natural itself. The ego is maybe cultural, we could say. The cult of ego, the cult of I. And when we ask ourselves about the future of technology, we have to ask, is it going to be a spiritual future or a mechanical future? What is the next technology going to be? Are we going to live forever like Ray Kurzweil says because we inject ourselves with nanobots? To me, that seems to be a fallacy of misplaced concretion. It's a phrase that A.N. Whitehead used, and it means basically Kurzweil is taking this spiritual intuition and trying to make it physically manifest in the gross world of matter and flesh. And that really the feeling that he's trying to express isn't quite that. It's not that we want to live forever, literally. Because we have to ask ourselves, do we really want to live forever, or do we want to know how to live? Because maybe part of living is dying. And if we live forever, isn't that sort of like never going to sleep? Or, never doing something in life because you're sort of afraid of it? Never having sex, never trying drugs, never going skydiving, never going scuba diving, never confronting your biggest fears. Isn't that sort of what living forever is? Why would we want that? Why is that desirable? And the fact that it seems desirable, and that it almost goes without saying that most people would think it was a valuable technological advance to allow human beings to live forever. It just shows how spiritually disenchanted our culture is right now. That we think that the only eternal life that there could possibly be is this literal life of the body forever and ever and ever, year after year after year. Because we have this idea of time now. The time is this quantity of something, that we can buy time, that we can lose time, that we can gain time, that we can have time. Time is not a substance, and it's not extended out in front of us like it were some road that we're driving down. You can't build a bridge to the future. Time is becomingness. Time is consciousness. Time is your mind. I think it was Korbinski that said that the mind is a time binder, which means that the ego just wakes up at some point between birth and death, finds itself here as a person involved in a society with rules and taboos, and they're on a planet that science has certain knowledge about, and about the universe and the solar system that it's floating around in, and we're just here all of a sudden. And it's like there's a problem now. We have to figure out what we're doing here, and we have to gain control of the situation, as if there was anything to be in control of. Because, to be in control of something, you have to be separate from it. And that's really what Descartes' cogito is all about. He wanted to assure that the mind retained control over the body, or over the machine. Because if it was all just mechanism, then who am I? Nobody. But because he knew he could doubt, Descartes was sure that he existed, that his consciousness was there. And that doesn't necessarily have to be the ego, but it's certainly, the cogito has been interpreted as the defender of the ego, of this first-person perspective. So the mind binds time by getting caught up in all these details about the structure of the physical universe and our relationships with other people in our community and our family and our understanding of ourselves. And, we get all tangled up and bound and shackled to concepts and memories, and we get attached to this world. Time is this attachment, it's suffering. But at the same time, time is becoming and creation. So without time, there's only nirvana. There's only pure white light, bliss, pure consciousness, pure spirit. We need time in order to have evolution, because we, right now, are going through this evolutionary process. And that process is time. And the process realizes itself at the end of time. But the end of time is the same as the beginning. The end of time is origin.